Hi everybody, it's the Spartacus Season 3 Episode 2 reaction and review. I'm just about to watch Episode 2 of Season 3 of Spartacus War of the Damned, and you'll see the highlights of my reaction and my review at the end of the episode. I thought I'll do a wee recap first about the first two seasons and the Season 3 premiere. So, Season 1, I remember I watched the pilot and I was a wee bit disappointed, to be honest. I thought the script was a bit tacky and the storyline seemed fairly predictable and relied purely on action sequences. I couldn't understand why so many people enjoyed Spartacus as a series, but you know, you should never judge a show purely on its pilot. So I decided to watch a few more episodes and I'm glad I did. I think the main strength from Season 1 is the characters. Andy Whitefield was a fantastic Spartacus, and so was the supporting cast. Batiatus, Crixus, Doctore, Lucretia, Varro, and many others. Each character brought another element onto the show, and pretty much the casting was near perfect. What I really loved about the first season is that it didn't focus entirely on Spartacus' story. You know, we got to see other characters develop and interact with each other. I even remember there were a few episodes where Spartacus wasn't the focal point of the episode and was barely involved in the actual storyline. I'm a believer that basic shows, they allow the main character to kind of carry the show, but really good shows, they allow the audience to kind of bond with multiple characters at the same time. And I think it makes the show a lot more interesting and watchable. Also gives it more opportunities for the storyline to develop. So basically, in Season 1, we see Spartacus betrayed by the Romans and sold to the house of Batiatus to be trained as a gladiator. He is separated from his wife Sura and fantasizes of being reunited with her. Batiatus strikes a deal with Spartacus that he will find his wife as long as Spartacus keeps winning in the arena. Throughout Series 1, we see Batiatus going crazy with power. He actually decides to arrange for Sura to be murdered so he can control Spartacus better, and so Spartacus can then devote his life to being a gladiator under Batiatus. So there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of scheming, a lot of characters die. Basically at the end, all the gladiators rise up, they kill Batiatus in a really gruesome season finale. The final scene is then a speech by Spartacus saying that he's going to lead all the slaves to take down Rome. Yeah, so overall, I was quite surprised by Season 1 of Spartacus. You know, at the start I was expecting it to be quite a really basic show, but it exceeded expectations, and yeah, I really enjoyed watching it, and I thought Season 2 had a lot of potential, but unfortunately Andy Whitefield, who played Spartacus, he died due to non-Hodgkin lymphoma. So I found it really hard to come back to Spartacus. You know, I think Andy Whitefield was an amazing, he was Spartacus for me, you know. It was kind of like Mad Men without John Hamm as Donald Draper. So yeah, I didn't know if I wanted to really see someone else as Spartacus, because the worst thing is you can't just write Spartacus, Andy Whitefield's character off, because the show is about him. It's about Spartacus's life. So they had to recast him. I think recasting never works in films or TV shows. It's always so obvious when they do it, and it kind of ruins the atmosphere. But I feel really bad for the writers and the production team, because they didn't really have a choice in this case. I decided to watch Season 2 anyway. It took some getting used to. I feel sorry for Liam McIntyre, who took over as Spartacus, because he does a good job filling Andy Whitefield's role. But for me, it's just not the same. You know, I got so attached to Andy Whitefield as Spartacus. The writing in Season 2 compared to Season 1, it seemed a bit off as well. Crixus and Doctore seemed out of character. In Season 2, the storyline seemed to just focus on Spartacus, and everyone else just tagged along in the background. Peter Mensah and Manu Bennett, who almost stole the show from Andy in Season 1, were just background characters. Doctore actually dies at the end of Season 2, but instead of it being really dramatic and an emotional scene, it's more just kind of rushed, and to me it seemed a bit pointless, to be honest. I did still enjoy the second season. I think there are a lot of good characters that were able to carry the show, particularly Asher, Glaber and Lucretia, who were all from Season 1. The addition of Gannicus was also a really good choice. The season finale, Spartacus is able to get his revenge on Glaber and moves onwards onto Rome. So yeah, that brought us on to season 3. I read the creators were originally planning on about 7 seasons, but because of everything that's happened, they decided that season 3 is actually going to be the final one. Another interesting fact I noticed, there are actually only 2 actors still in this show from season 1, since Navia was actually recast in season 2 as well. You know, I was really worried about season 3 because all the characters that really, I think, saved season 2 and made it watchable have now been killed off. So I watched the first episode of season 3 the other day, and I'll give you a brief summary of what happened. Spartacus is kicking ass. Him and his crew are slicing through Romans like utterly butterly. There's one scene where Spartacus, Crixus and Gannicus storm a Roman camp all by themselves. You know how Spartacus is as a show, you know, blood is spurting everywhere. There's one scene where Spartacus has both his swords at 2 Roman generals' necks. They ask what the terms of surrender are. He replies, "There are none I would trust her. There are none I would trust her. There are none that I would trust a Roman to honour." Yeah, that's it. And then he decapitates both of them at the same time. You know, there was a lot of good action in the first episode, but I hope there's going to be, you know, a lot more to the other episodes to do with the characters and greater depth in them, like there was back in the first season. I think one of the problems at the moment is the interaction between the main characters. You know, Spartacus is obviously the leader. We have Gannicus, who's now taking the role of the kind of the arrogant, laid-back douchebag at the moment. You know, he's cunning and sets boundaries for how involved he wants to be. He's happy to fight for Spartacus, but at the same time, he doesn't really want to step up and take any responsibility. I think that, like, as a leader, I think that's mainly because he doesn't really believe in their cause. He still feels that they may fail. He doesn't think they can take down Rome, basically. And though at the same time, he's like a really self-destructive character, so he doesn't really care if he dies anyway. Probably the most loyal character. He'll do whatever is asked. And that, like, brings me on to Crixus. I have a bit of a problem with his character at the moment because he just seems to be floating in limbo. I find it hard to really describe what his character does. In season 1, he was probably the most interesting, like, captivating character. He just doesn't really have that presence anymore on screen. The only thing I really noticed about him was his new haircut he's got. You know, it kind of looks like a homeless Bono who's jacked up on steroids, to be honest. I did like the introduction of Crassus, though, in the first episode. I think he's going to be a really good villain. He isn't corrupted by the desire like Glaber and Batiatus were. He's also got a lack of arrogance that makes him, I think, more dangerous as a villain. I also did some historical research on Crassus because, as you probably know, most of the characters of Spartacus are actually historical figures. Crassus, his most famous achievement is actually taking down Spartacus. So we'll see what happens in the show. Overall, I think the season premiere was a really good episode. It had all the essentials we expect from Spartacus these days. You know, like the elaborate lovemaking scenes, the slow motion graphic fighting. There's even a few homosexual innuendos like every episode. So yeah, I'm gonna dive straight into the second episode now. Yeah, so here we go. Alright, so Spartacus is planning to capture a city. Feel sorry for Agron. He never gets to go with Crixus and Spartacus. Oh god. Well, that was disgusting. I was wondering if Julius Caesar would appear. He's not really... It doesn't look like what I expect him to. Okay, so... It looks like Caesar and Crassus have teamed up now. Some action. Oh Jesus, what did they do to his face? Yeah, so that was the second episode. Just do a little recap of what actually happened there. We got to see Spartacus, Crixus and Gannicus. They infiltrated the city so they can get supplies for the rest of the army. We're introduced to Julius Caesar, who yeah, I heard he was going to be in this show. He teams up with Crassus and they plan to take down Spartacus together. There's one other important scene. Caesar tried to have his way with one of the slaves of Crassus. This created a lot of tension between Caesar and Tiberius. I think that's going to be underlying resentment for the whole series. We also discover that that same slave actually is having an affair with Crassus himself. And just when I was thinking this episode was going to be quite tame, Gannicus and Spartacus are able to open the gate of the city and let the rest of their army in, and they basically, overthrow the city from the Romans. There was one scene where a man's face was diagonally cut in half. We're also introduced to a few new characters. One that I brought up before, Julius Caesar. I found out, I think last week when I was on the forum, that he was going to be in it. And, the actor that got to play him isn't how I really pictured Julius Caesar, which is fine. It's, as I said earlier, it's a bit different from any other TV show or film you would have probably seen Julius Caesar in. But I guess that makes his character a bit more interesting and unpredictable. There was another character, I think his name was Attius or Atiatus or something like that. He was the blacksmith within the city, and it seems Gannicus knew him from his past. I think he might be a new addition. There are a few other new faces that have popped up. I didn't catch any of their names. They weren't too essential to the storyline in this episode, but you never know, that there probably are going to be important characters coming in the next few episodes. So yeah, it was a really good episode, I think. I actually enjoyed this one more than the last one. Got to see a bit more development of character, especially with Crassus, and now Julius Caesar's in the mix. It makes it very interesting. It had a good balance this episode. There was a lot of storyline and there was a good action sequence at the end. So yeah, I'm looking forward to episode 3. I think it's Men of Honor it's called. It's on February the 8th, so I'll be doing a video on that when it comes out. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you all again soon.